what I'd like to do is talk to you, tell a couple stories about why I'm running. The first was, in 1998, I graduated from Evanston Township High School. And truthfully, Evanston was a great place to go to high school, but I was not ready for college. I needed to have a break after spending years there. So I joined something called the AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps, or NCCC. What it was a 10-month team-based program where I literally traveled around the country with a group of 14 other individuals doing community service projects. So I ended up in, for example, Hopewell, Virginia, tutoring kids over the summer. I was in Shenandoah National Forest fighting forest fires. I went to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and actually did disaster relief. I built houses in Patton, Pennsylvania, and Savannah, Georgia, and I rehabbed senior apartment buildings in Washington, D.C. So it was a phenomenal life-changing experience to me. And my mom's smiling now too. This is my mom, and my dad is my dad is here too as well. My dad's taking care of my kids who are running around like crazy now. It was a phenomenal life-changing experience. I don't tell the story too much, but Mom, I almost quit it, and really almost quit the first day. Because when I signed up for it, I was told that we'd be staying on campus. And I kind of pictured, growing up by Northwestern, like tree-lined walkways and people strolling and discussing the finer points about how to change society and life. That was my vision of it. But where I ended up was a place called DC Village. In DC Village, as most people have an idea, DC is not a state. So as a city, they had to take care of the normal concerns that most states would have to take care of. So DC Village was home for wards of the state. So that the mentally ill, chronically homeless, etc. And this is where I pulled up in the van after getting off the airplane, and I pulled up to this place, DC Village, and the press called it the Village of the Damned, which was interesting. It was across the street from the sewage treatment plant, so it got a lot of interesting odors coming by. What they used to do, it actually got rated by the feds for substandard care, and they had banisters along the wall. And they would actually tie people up in the morning and, feed them breakfast, tie them up, feed them lunch, tie them up, feed them dinner, tie them to their beds. It was really that bad. And I signed up for this community service program, and I'm like, oh great, this is my new home, The roaches, I kid you not, were like that big. It was kind of fun. You'd see a lot of dead ones, you'd kick them, and they'd whack against the wall and make a resounding sound, which was one of the fun things we did. But that wasn't worse. The worst was when you saw like half-eaten roaches, and you're kind of like, who's sharing this living space with you? The beds were actually the former hospital beds themselves. So there's really a name on the end of my bed. I could like raise it high and low, and someone actually was there before me. So that was like where I was living, and that wasn't even the worst part about it. I finally figured out that I would have to cook for myself when I was 18 years old as a male. And I didn't know how to cook at all. My wife can attest to the fact that I lived on spaghetti for years and years and years, and that's kind of like where I learned to eat spaghetti. And the even worse part about it was I did PT every day, physical training, 5 a.m. every single day. So literally instead of going to college with all my friends, this is what I did, my first experience away from home. And I was ready to quit. Like the first day after learning all this, I'm like, I'm done. So they bring us all into this auditorium for an introduction, a welcome ceremony. And this guy named Daryl Hammond comes up. He's the founder of Kaboom. Kaboom's a phenomenal organization where they actually build playgrounds in low-income communities. And I'm like, I don't care what he's saying, I'm just ready to go. And so Daryl gets up there, and he says, it's not about you. This next year is not about you. It's about the people you serve, it's about the homes you build, it's about the kids you educate, it's about the environmental rehabilitation that you're going to do. This next year is not about you. So when I was in law school, I had the pleasure of actually studying under Dawn Clark Netsch. Dawn Clark Netsch was the first female statewide candidate for down the Democratic side for governor. Phenomenal woman. She used to say, you don't run for office to be something, you run for office to do something. That's my son Carter about that too. So you don't run to be something, you run to do something. As alderman, I've tried to do that in Evanston. I've tried to make an impact. I've tried to do a couple of things. Try to make our government more open, more fair, more transparent, and more effective. Open in the sense of we often have feeling in Evanston that the public is not in the decision-making process. Making it fair in the fact is that we're not picking favorites or picking winners before the decision is made. Making it more effective is meaning we have better policies that really respond to the needs of our citizens. And transparent meaning, again, that like everyone knows what's going on. That's what I've sought to do as alderman, and that's what I would try to do as mayor of Evanston. Now the question is, how do we do that? That's my second story. I graduated from high school in 1998. In 1997, where's Dwayne? Dwayne's up front here. Dwayne was a member of the 1997 Evanston Township High School football team. The football team, oh yeah, the football team, and you know, there's always arguments about what was the best football team ever. I think they were the best football team ever in the history of Evanston Township High School. They were number 1 in the state for 3 weeks, right? They actually were number 5th in the country by USA Today. And I played with them through my sophomore year. And not many people know this, and he knows this. I could have played in the NFL. No, for real. As a sophomore, I started over a guy that got picked up by the Packers. Started over him. Now, I quit playing football because I wanted to go to summer camp, which I'll tell you in a second as well. But I think because I started over him, I could have played for the Packers. Now, mind you, he was bigger, stronger, faster, and a completely better football player in every single way that I would ever be or ever hope to be. But the thing was, because he didn't start playing to the sophomore year, I started my freshman year. I had the fundamentals. You know, the blocking and tackling. That's what I had that he didn't have. And that's what we need to do in Evanston too. We need to go back to, call it the blocking and tackling, the fundamentals. We spend all this time and effort on kind of flashy stuff. You know, we talk about, we have bike lanes and we have divvy bikes, but our parks are crumbling. Robert Crown has been a problem for 20, 30 years. You know, we're just kind of now starting to get to the place where we can address it. Our lakefront is probably the best thing we have going for us in this town. And we have no plan and no efforts to actually address it that way. Not to mention city services. It's amazing, we talk about Skevinston, you know, like just west of McCormick. We talk about Skevinston so great because it's Evanston schools and Skokie services. We acknowledge that our services aren't up to the par as our neighbors. You know, Skokie, actually, if there's enough snow, they'll plow your sidewalk. In Evanston, we have a problem doing these core functions, and that's what I'd like to do. No more theaters on Howard, no more theaters in downtown in the sense. I want to return to good government and what we're supposed to be doing to actually take care of the needs of our city. So Lori Keenan's here. Where's Lori? Lori reminded me today, and this is something that, you know, the question is really, why do you want to do this? So, Lori reminded me, today is the 4th anniversary of the murder of Deja Coleman. Does everyone, if you remember, Deja was a 14-year-old, phenomenal student, all-around amazing person in high school who was mistakenly murdered. He was mistaken for someone else. And, you know, it's hard to actually bring him up in the sense because it's like, you don't want to cheapen it. I actually don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about Deja. I want to talk about when I was a camp counselor at Camp Echo growing up. I had my first cabin when I was 16. And I had the oldest boys in camp. They were optimists, is the actual name of the cabin. And I had this most amazing camper. Okay, his name was Brian. Brian was literally the star of camp. I mean, he was as tall as I was at the time. You know, he was 6 years younger. He was beating the counselors in basketball, like really dunking on them. He was the most popular kid in camp, and just a phenomenal, you know, just had so much potential. So one night, what you do every night at Camp Echo is you do something called Taps Talk, which is before you go to bed at night, you have a discussion of a certain issue or a story of some sort. So this night, I was on my own with my kids, and I asked them, okay, if you could have dinner with 3 people ever, who would it be? Most kids talk about like Michael Jordan, or talk about, you know, the latest rapper or something of that sort. These kids really were, you know, thinking about their family or friends that they, you know, their grandparents had passed away, or someone else that sort. And Brian, this phenomenal kid, is literally in the corner crying. And I'm like, hey, what's going on, Brian? Brian had been adopted, lived in the city of Chicago. he'd been adopted from, the South Side, the streets of the South Side, where he actually got involved in gang activity. He was involved in a couple shootings too. And literally taking him out of that environment and bringing him to Camp Echo was the best thing in the world for him. I mean, he literally was just shining and thriving. And after hearing this from him, I told myself, I can't let him get away. But, I was a kid. I was in high school myself. And so I tried to keep in touch with him as time went on and see what was going on and see if we could actually, if I could help him along. And eventually we lost him again. I talked to his parents and he went back to his old neighborhood. I still know where he is to this day. And literally every day, I remember, I think about it. We're doing the same thing to our kids here. We're not doing enough for gun violence in the city of Evanston. The most at-risk kids in this city, we're leaving behind. It's not enough to say we're just doing best practices. We should be doing better than best practices. We should be devoting every single resource we can. Because if we can't do it here, we can't do it anywhere else. So I've tried in the city council to try to get us to do something differently and do more. Because I don't think it's enough. We are doing well, but we're still losing kids. That's what I want to do as well, is run, as mayor, do everything I can to make sure we don't lose another one of these kids. So I was born in Evanston, was raised in Evanston, and I credit Evanston with who I am, truthfully as a person. Because of that, I owe Evanston. And with your help, we can change Evanston. Thank you all for coming out. I really appreciate it.